Hey, my name is Spencer Brodhead. I'm a saxophonist, composer, and mouthpiece maker. And in this video, you'll see the process of me hand sculpting a saxophone mouthpiece completely from scratch from a solid piece of hard rubber. So this type of hard rubber rod stock is normally fed through a CNC lathe and then mill. And that's typically how you make a modern saxophone mouthpiece, which is what I'm used to working on. But this should be a really interesting challenge to try to hand sculpt one out of this piece, just using basic tools and no computer design. And just for a quick background, I started mouthpiece work in 2016 when I worked at MaxSax in Austin, Texas, and there I was involved in the production of pieces for a few of the most well-known mouthpiece brands. Since early 2020, I've been doing all the hand finishing for Retro Revival, and as of the making of this video, I've worked on about 2,500 mouthpieces in total since 2016. In these clips here, you're seeing some examples of my recent tip rail finishing work. So I'm at my desk now, and this is Saturday morning, January 29th, and I'm just about ready to get started. And before I actually get standing on this piece, I just want to say really quick that, you're going to be watching me figure this out for the first time. I've never actually tried to make a mouthpiece like this at all. So I'm going to do my best to film the whole thing if I can, but yeah, you're definitely watching a very raw first attempt at this. So yeah, let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is this actually doesn't quite fit under the drill press, so I'm going to have to take a little bit of material off the bottom just so I can get it under here to start drilling the bore. So now that it actually fits under here, I'm going to find the center, pilot the hole, and start drilling the bore. So yeah, that's the bore, and I'm actually pretty happy with how that turned out. I was a little concerned about how that was going to go. And now from here, I'm going to put it back on the drill press and actually start turning down the outside as like a really makeshift lathe. Okay, so now I'm actually going to score on here 2 lines, and that's going to help me determine the taper as I put it on the drill press here. So how I'm going to try to turn down the outside is I'm going to put some tape on the drill bit here and jam it back in here so it doesn't really spin, then put it back on the drill press so it can spin the whole thing to try to turn the taper. The only way I thought to turn this down is I'm actually going to use a Dremel with a grinding bit against this. I also have a dust mask on now, so my voice might be a little muffled. And just about an hour into it now. Yeah, so this is running into some problems. This is all sorts of not round. It's really because this drill press is so wobbly. What I might try to do is spin it on the drill against the belt sander. That was another one of the ideas I had planned, because this is not ideal, to say the least. All right, that's not terrible, considering this is like the worst lathe in the world, but currently 9:45, so making pretty good progress. So now I'm actually going to start trying to do the table. So it's not bad. It's just about the overhang that I want to see at this point. Looks decently flat, but of course I'll flatten it by hand later. Okay, so this is how it looks now. The bore's done, the rough outside turning is done, and the rough table shaping is done. Let's see, it's currently 10:14, so about 2 hours, a little over 2 hours to get to this point. So yeah, next I'll probably start dremeling out the window and do some minor reed shaping on the outside, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. So the first thing to do now, I need to shorten it a little bit actually. Going for an overall length of about 90 millimeters, so I need to take off about 9. So I think I better kind of trace out the reed shape for the outside rails, and then I can carefully start carving out the window. I think I want about a 40 millimeter window. Maybe I should have said this earlier. Obviously, this is an alto mouthpiece. And as far as the design goes, it'll be like Meyer-ish. But really, I'm not that concerned about that. I have a baffle profile already mapped out. I'll show you how I'm going to measure that later. And once I get deeper down here, I'll probably kind of plunge in at 45 degrees just to try to find the bore. There it is. Back from another short break. It's now 12:11. And what I'm going to do now is actually start to measure the baffle profile. And how I'm going to do that is actually using the tip rail gauge and just plunging it down inside and seeing how far down it goes, so I can kind of keep track of how much material I need to take away. So right now our tip opening is essentially 0.000 of an inch, so it's fairly closed at the moment. I'm aiming for around 88. By the way, just a quick note for these, it really helps if you file off these corners. It's so sharp, like you're gouging these things into your hand. So just take a metal file, round off these corners, so when you hold it, it's a lot more comfortable. Seven thousandths. 13 thousandths. 40 thousandths. Probably one of the last steps will actually be carving out the top of the beak, but I'm going to reference that against the finished baffle profile. I'm not going to do the beak until the baffle is basically 100% done. Actually, I might use this Dremel bit to kind of round out that window a little bit. Looks a bit nicer. That transition is what I'm targeting. Let's again point to it. Like right in there. See, it's getting close, but I want to smooth that out so it's totally seamless all the way around on all sides. Alright, so it's 2 o'clock now, and it's coming along pretty well. Still got a long ways to go, but yeah, I'm going to take a break now, and I'll come back in a little bit. Alright, it's a little after 2:30. I'm back from my break, and let's get back to trying to get the facing more dialed in. So I'm aiming for 88 thousandths for the tip opening, and I'm at 68 right now. Could also Dremel out this window. I want it to be a little rounder, like it's a little, comes in a little narrow. It's a little more rounded there, a little wider at the base of the window. Looks a little better. I don't know if you saw that. I tried to kind of undercut that a little bit. So to mark my progress, it's 3:47 now, and this is what it's looking like. It's kind of out of focus, but it looks fairly symmetrical inside. I'm actually pretty happy with that. This area right in here is a little high, so I'm going to try to take some more material out there. So now it's probably time to go back to the facing, bring that more close to where it's going to be. 79 thousandths. $80 thousandths open. $78 now. Close down a little bit. Alright, I'm moving up to 800 now. It's actually getting fairly close. So it's currently 5:04. I think I might be calling it for the day and continue this project tomorrow. But I'll bring the camera close and gonna give you a look at actually what I got done today at least. Alright, so this is what I have at the end of the first day working on this project. But yeah, I think I'm going to call it there for today, and hopefully I can finish this up tomorrow completely. Okay, so it's now the next day, January 30th. Alright, so the tip opening is currently around 80, 79, and I want to try to get to 88. Or 86. I'm quite close now. I'm going to start trimming these back to be a little more round and then eventually fit the reed. Not sure if you can see that, but the reed fit is getting pretty close now. So I have an actual reed on here now, not the shaping reed. Let's see if it makes a noise. Your standard ligature doesn't quite fit. It's a really tight fit. So I'm going to actually just, with the really rough file, take some material off the sides and top here. So checking the time, it's almost 1 o'clock. So yeah, I'm happy with how this is looking so far, and go take a quick lunch break and then get back to it. Okay, it's almost 1:30, back from my break now. I want it to be, I said 90 originally, I actually want it to be about 88 millimeters. So this is currently at about 92. So I'm actually going to take this to the belt sander and just take a little bit of material off. So now we're at 88.28. So that's just about perfect. So I still want to take this rail and make it a little bit thinner. I want to match them a bit better. So now that the side rails are looking a lot better, I'm actually going to start doing some final baffle and tip rail shaping. So the shape is getting closer, even though it's still way too thick. I'm noticing it's a little high here. I need to take some material out of this area. So this is how it looks now. So now that the tip rail is more dialed in, I'm going to go back and do some final facing passes at 1000 grit. Okay, the facing is very close, just needs a bit more opening at the tip. There it is, 88. That's what I was going for. Okay, so the facing is now completely done. And now I'm going to go back to thinning out the tip rail. Now I'm going to sand the outside with a finer grit to prepare it for buffing. Now it's just after 4 o'clock, so it's almost done now. Almost completely done with the outside polishing. Just wipe off some extra compound. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with that outside polish. So this is how it's looking now. Very shiny. And I think I might take a break right now, come back later this evening and do a little bit of interior polishing, and that will pretty much be it. Alright, I'm back now. It's 6:44, and I'm ready to do the final interior polishing. I am actually going to mask off around the rails and table. I don't normally do that, but for some reason I just feel like doing it on this just to be extra careful. Okay, it is now almost 8 o'clock, and I'm going to call this finished. I finished all the polishing on the inside now, and I think that's just about done. You see the inside is nice and shiny now. Hopefully that's in focus. You can see the tip rail there. So now it's time to give it a play test.